Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and I was always told I had a voice for radio. So today, we're going to be looking at some beautiful cards, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be looking at the legend cards that came around a while ago. They didn't last long. We didn't get many of them. But ladies and gentlemen, while they lasted, they were beautiful and wonderful and awesome. These were cards whereby they were double cards. And in order to play them, you had to have both halves of the card in your hand at the same time. And then you would play them down. And then they would be one complete card on the bench. They were awesome. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I absolutely adored them. They were great and beautiful. Oh, the artwork you're going to see in this video, ladies and gentlemen. Now, they came around in Heart Gold, Soul Silver with Ho-Oh Legend and Lugia Legend. And what was interesting about these two cards is that they were single Pokemon. And we didn't have this before or after. They were the only two single legends we ever had. They gave up one prize each. They included one Pokemon each. Now, Ho-Oh Legend here turned all energy onto it into fire energy, and it did 100 for 4 energy and discarded an energy. And sure, there were plenty of Pokemon you could use to accelerate energy to this, something like Emboar, for instance, but the reality was that at the time, 100 just wasn't enough. Got it and all that. Now, we also had Lugia Legend. Now, some people did try and make this work. It had a wonderful Pokepower Ocean Grow. When you put Lugia Legend into play, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck and attach all energy cards you find there to Lugia Legend, discarding the others. And then for a Fire, Water, Lightning, you did 200 damage, discarding one of each of those free energy. Now, 200 was a lot at the time, and this would basically one-hit KO anything. But there were no 2 prize Pokemon, not until we got to the other legends, more on them in a minute, so it was very difficult to use this effectively, having to discard free energy, and it never really worked. It was always a little bit too expensive and a little bit too awkward, but that didn't mean it wasn't beautiful. And then moving forward into Unleashed, we had the legendary beasts. And given that there were 3 of them, we actually got 3 legends in this set, the only set that had 3 legends. And they were all of the possible combinations. So we had Raikou and Suicune Legend. And at this stage, you notice they all had 2 typings. They had 2 weaknesses. And they gave up 2 prizes. So it wasn't like GXs nowadays. These were proper job double Pokemon cards. They were really good and really powerful. 2 weaknesses, 2 typings, and 2 prizes. So you see that Raikou and Suicune here, it was lightning type but weak to fighting, Raikou. And it was water type and weak to lightning, Suicune. Very nice. 2 lightning, 1 colorless, 150 damage. You do 50 to yourself, but don't apply weakness, because of course it was weak to itself. Water double colorless, 50 damage, remove 5 damage counters from it. And again, here, we had stuff like Magnezone that could accelerate energy. And we had Feraligatr that could accelerate energy. We had some decent energy acceleration during the lifetime of these cards, but the reality is this one was never quite good enough to see much play. Suicune and Entei Legend people tried using. Fire double colorless, 80 damage plus burn was kind of cool, did see a bit of play. Similarly, 2 water, 1 colorless, return 2 water energy to your hand and do 100 to a bench Pokemon. And this saw a little bit of play. It did see some action in some decks, but it was never quite good enough to really make waves. But the best legend card we ever had was in this set, and it was Entei Raikou Legend. Now, for 1 fire, 1 colorless energy, 90 damage, and discard a fire energy, that was fine. But 1 lightning, 1 colorless, discard all energy, 80 damage to each Pokemon that has any Poke Powers in play. And ladies and gentlemen, this was at a time when this meant something. Smeargle. Yeah, that got KO'd straight away. Celebi Prime. Yeah, Celebi Prime went down. Uxie. Yeah, Uxie's going down. Clado. I'm afraid to say Claydore's going down. Shaman's going down as well. Now, obviously, these Pokemon came in and out with rotations, etc. But during the lifetime, all of these Pokemon were around. It was ludicrous how many Pokemon this got. Now, I got your own Pokemon as well, but that didn't really matter. This was a game-ending card. This was a card that, if played correctly, could just wipe your opponent's board and win. And because it was one colorless, one lightning, it could go into a Magnezone deck or a Feraligatr deck. It could even go into an Emboar deck. It didn't matter, as long as you had one lightning energy on there. It was good, ladies and gentlemen. It was very good. It saw a lot of play. It was teched into an awful lot of decks. I mean, it even got played in SP decks, because you'd see stuff like Crobat G. Well, Crobat's going down here. It really was a card that was put into a whole bunch of decks. Although, to be fair, there was another one of the Legends that did give it a good run for its money in the Best Legend Ever category. Moving on into Undaunted, we had maybe the most exciting Legends we'd ever had. We had Kyogre Groudon Legend. I adored Kyogre Groudon Legend. This was a proper job I am gonna wreck card. 2 water, 2 colorless energy. Discard the top 5 cards from your opponent's deck. 30 damage times the number of energy cards you discarded to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So it was awesome in that, first of all, you got to discard 5 cards from their deck and then potentially wreck their entire setup. And again, this was really kind of a Feraligatr card because these cards are expensive. Even bearing in mind we'd had double colorless energy reprinted at that stage, you're still talking exceptionally expensive attacks. You needed some energy acceleration. And no, as much as I adored the card, I don't think the Regirock from Legends Awakened was really a viable option here. Sorry. So really the water one was the easier one to use, but 2 fighting, 2 colorless, 100 damage, discard the top 5 cards of your deck. This attack does 100 damage times the number of energy cards you discarded. And we did at the time have a lovely little card called Research Record, and what Research Record allowed you to do was look at the top 4 cards of your deck and reorder them. Or, to be more precise, put as many as you liked on top and the rest on the bottom of your deck, so you could either leave 4 energy on top, or essentially just leave the energy on top and get rid of all the others, pop them underneath, which would help you out quite nicely. Although again, a very expensive attack. But the other card that really had a claim to be the best legend ever was Rayquaza Deoxys Legend. Now, this was actually played in a World Championship winning deck. In 2011, David Cohen went and won Worlds with Magnaball, using Magnezone to draw cards and Emboar to accelerate energy, and then this became a legitimately viable card. But Wassy, I hear you shout, what did it do? Well, the attack for 2 fire, 1 lightning and a colorless energy, but again, Emboar Magnezone, you'd play the lightning energy for Magnezone and the fire energy to accelerate. So you're playing them both. 150, discard all the energy. Well, that's fine, because it doesn't really matter. Because you're using Emboars, you can get all the energy back. Free energy, fire, plus a lightning every turn, and you're rolling. And 150 at the time, as you've been seeing from the cards I'm chucking up on the screen, was enough to basically KO anything. Oh yeah, and the Pokebody ability let you take an extra card. So everything turned into a 2-prize card. So you could rush this out, although it did have weakness to colorless and psychics. Wasn't the easiest card to keep on the field, but you could then be taking 2 prizes for every KO. This could be just a game ender in terms of last 2 prizes, or it could be I get rolling quickly and smash you. Yeah, this literally won Worlds, so maybe this is the best legend ever. Either way, it was great. And then we end up in Triumphant, the last Heart Gold Soul Silver set and the last Legends we ever got. Now, Darkrai Cresselia Legend honestly never saw much. I didn't even really see much hype. 2 darkness, 2 colorless, 100 damage, put 2 energy attached to it into the Lost Zone. And then if you would knock out Pokemon using this attack, which did 100 damage, they go to the Lost Zone instead. 1 Psychic Energy, move as many damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon as you like to your opponent's other Pokemon in any way that you like. Okay, I mean, to be honest, it's a single energy version of Tapu Lele, which we're all getting a little bit excited about nowadays. But that was it. It wasn't exactly some kind of stunning, over-the-top, great card. It was useful enough, and look, it saw some play here and there, but it wasn't a card that saw lots of play. But one that people kept trying to use for the whole time it was legal, and a great one on which to finish this video. Palkia Dialga Legend. Now, water double colorless, choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, put that Pokemon and all cards attached to it back into your opponent's hand. But the great one here, 2 metal, 1 colorless energy, discard all the metal energy, add the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck to his or her prize cards. And if you could do this a few times, you could just deck your opponent out because they couldn't take enough prizes. It was so much fun, ladies and gentlemen. It was so good. And I'll be honest with you, right? No one ever really made it work. No one ever really got it working beautifully. And that's a little bit upsetting because it was such a fun attack. But anyone that went to tournaments around this time will remember that time you walked past a table and saw somebody with 20 prize cards out. People used it. People tried it. And I'm not saying it was successful. I don't remember any tournaments being won with this card. I don't remember this card being a powerhouse. But I do remember on a couple of occasions walking past a table at, say, a league challenge and just seeing somebody actually using this and actually making it work. And seeing some poor soul with 20 prize cards. As a side note, you could use a Super Connectivity Magnezone. I've been talking about it as accelerating lightning energy here, but you could, of course, accelerate metal energy as well. So it could work there. And then you could get it rolling every turn because you essentially use this for 1 metal energy and then accelerate the second just attaching from your hand. It never really worked. But oh my lord, it was fun, ladies and gentlemen. I might even do its own video about it in a couple of weeks' time, just showing you how this deck worked, because it was a lot of fun. But now, ladies and gentlemen, my fun of making videos is over, and my fun of listening to you guys is just beginning. So in the comment section, tell me if you have memories of these legends, and if you don't, tell me which of them you think sounds cool. Go nuts, but do please remember the rule. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And do make sure you check out my other channel, Wassy Plays. At the moment, we're doing a little bit of Transformers TCG action. We're doing a deep dive, and it's fun. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.